we gotta talk about the Facehugger. Project's going relatively according to plan, but using a different image I found on, was it ZBrush? It's approximately the same size. I'm not gonna get a perfect one-to-one from just this. That's kind of what the maquette's for. Anyway, I only printed out another image because I wanted a better comparison than this one. And also I'm gonna, before I can take pictures of the copy of the maquette, this is all I have to go on, and I wanted to start getting at least some estimates for the length of each leg based on my face, from what once was a hairline to my chin hairline, 22 centimeters. I've since printed out this scaled up Facehugger back to proportions scaled with my face. Yeah, we're going to use this to outline essentially what's going to be its skeleton, something I've worked with a lot in the past. I'm going to make the spine, base of the tail, and the 8 appendages coming off of him PVC and CPVC. So I'm thinking the half-inch PVC for spine to support everything, and then each one of the appendages is going to be attached to one of these that's stemming off of the spine at the same angle as the ones photographed. And that should give me the basic structure to start with. The prop version of the Facehugger that I'm making. The other Facehugger that I'm making that's going to go on our little baby toy, which is how this project started, is going to have to be significantly lighter. We're going to have to do some Bill Nye style tests to see how much weight the toy can handle before it can't move anymore, and it doesn't work on carpet. So if I can figure out a way to elevate the toy off of the ground and not primarily use the wheels that propel it, then that would be great. And for these weird little ball and socket bits, yeah, not the whole thing. I may also use a small segment of this stuff for the base of the tail where it attaches to the rest of this guy, but the only thing I'm going to need for each one of the legs is just one segment, and it's really stiff, which it's supposed to be. And so the plan is to have the half-inch CPVC, probably going to be slightly curved, to be the spine of it, and then a cross piece of CPVC right across, and then angled at each appendage and ending at each knuckle. And each knuckle is going to have one of these at the end of it. So the best way I could think of having one of these attached to every end of the CPVC is to, I'm going to need to make my own one of these, which is kind of where the making a mold box and pouring silicone and casting a piece is going to kind of come into play, because I need to do that for this prop if I want it to be how I'm envisioning it. But I think I can pull it off. The only thing that needs to happen really is I need to put a section of CPVC into this, maybe use epoxy sculpt to keep it in place, and then kind of carve it to what I need it to be, just one of these knuckles. And then the same thing with this, take another piece, take an accepting piece, and do the same thing. Probably end up cutting this whole base piece off, and that would give me a much smaller diameter that I have to work with for each of these. But before I cut anything, or before I cut any of the knuckles or start drilling holes into stuff, I need to get a basic shape and a rough estimate of how much of each piece of PVC I'm going to need. And the easiest way to do that, so 1/2 inch CPVC. This is another image that I printed out using the same exact methods that I already demonstrated, using sources from the internet, and then putting that into a editing software and editing it to be a certain scale that you have already determined. And you get this. What I then did was found a line of symmetry that I could place, because the image itself wasn't taken symmetrically. I have another image that I'm going to use for symmetrical purposes, but you only need, when you're making an outline, which is really what this is, it's just going to be an outline for the PVC pieces that I need to make. You only need 1/2 for an outline. So that's what I did. I found a line of symmetry, and I'm going to draw on both halves, but I'm only going to import one to the computer to upload and or print out. So I know I'm using 1/2 inch PVC for the spine, so I can line up a 1/2 inch, mark it there, and on this side, center a 1/2 inch on the line of symmetry, mark it. It's gonna be, what do you know, 22 millimeters. Wow. What are the odds? I gotta go based on the materials I'm using. I could do the whole thing out of CPVC. And there is a way you can manipulate 1/2 inch PVC to actually, here, this is a fun Nerf fun fact that I've kept from days when I used to mod Nerf guns. If you use I think it's a 1/2 inch borer, you can actually have 1/2 inch CPVC telescope into 1/2 inch PVC, like that. It's only going that far friction fit because that's as far as I drilled into this piece for another project. But that was a fun fact I learned about PVC, is that you can manipulate it to fit into each other. PVC and CPVC, one's conduit, one's for plumbing. That's beside the point. No more home improvement, I promise. I'm gonna continue as though I'm using the piece of PVC as just the centerpiece. It makes more sense too because it's stronger. It's going to add a little bit more weight, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make if it means it's just structurally a little beefier. Plus, using the 1/2 inch PVC will give me a little more material to work with when I get to attaching each leg. Okay. I don't even know how I would begin to approach this for a one-day build. If I can ever approach any project like Adam Savage does. Dude, you're insane. His workflow is, if ADD were Jedi powers, Adam Savage would be Qui-Gon? Maybe Qui-Gon? I don't know. But if ADD was the Force, Adam Savage would definitely be a Jedi. Okay, so that, can't really see it. That's going to be the spine. Too much. Right. Okay, so this is going to be the spine. And just going back to pencil, I started to outline these parts here are the high points on the knuckles. So that means it's going to, this is basically where the center of each CPVC piece is going to be. It's going to be in the center of each one of these high points. Please enjoy the auditory chocolate that is my voice, and not me rummaging through random crap in my tool cabinet. And this is essentially going to be what stems off of the spine for each digit. How they're going to meet is definitely going to prohibit me from using any pre-manufactured couplings or connectors, so it's probably for the best that I use the PVC for the spine of it. This stuff would just be way too flimsy to link and log by itself. That's actually probably a really good way to connect them, is to just cut link and log notches. Hold on, I gotta talk to you directly for this. So, for any of my more seasoned viewers, you know what link and logs is. You may be surprised that I know what link and logs are. Sorry. If you think I aged you, I also aged myself. But for the younger members of our audience, link and logs were these toy logs that interlocked with each other on a corner by having a divot cut in one and the same size divot cut in the other, and they interlocked, linking. Lincoln logs, Lincoln cabin, usually, yeah. Anywho, that's how I'm gonna do it. It's gonna just be boom, 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 Lincoln log along the spine. I'll try to remove the same amount of material, and then probably just gonna combine them with PVC glue and epoxy sculpt. Epoxy sculpt is, I have to keep in mind that any extra material like epoxy sculpt or more PVC or more of this ball and socket kind of deal, whatever, I forget, Flexahose, whatever it's called, is going to add to the overall weight. And this prop in particular is going to occasionally be on my face. So I really don't want a whole lot of weight hanging off my head, especially if I'm going to be walking around for a little bit with it. I also do not plan on putting eye holes in this thing. It's going to be an authentic face hugger. I'm going to be blind. And I have enough trust in my partner to guide me around safely while I'm wearing it. So there's no problem there. The other face hugger, in case you think I forgot, which is the main attraction to this little bundle of joy. Obviously, this guy's face hugger is going to be probably 100% EVA foam and not posable. Unfortunately, I can already tell just by the weight of this guy as is, without any fabrication on him, I'm not going to be able to add a lot. I'm going to set up a way to test how much weight the crab can handle. And that's not as scientific as it sounds. I'm probably just going to find some stuff that I can weigh easily and just hang it on the claws while it's moving and just keep putting stuff on top of him until he's grounded. And then I'll know what the weight limit is. Oh, I wish I could do that with my shoulders. The starting point for that is simple enough. We're going to finally crack into this. We're going to talk about this. My little crabby friend here desires to be a monstrosity, and I am more than happy to oblige. So you may have noticed he's a little skinnier than our friend, and where these legs meet are not going to cut because of how wide this is. I know this is smaller, but I still want to keep the relative size of a 1-to-1 facehugger. That's why the material that I'm going to put on this needs to be so light, and I need to remove a lot of the other stuff. And the legs are going to pose a problem. I have an idea. I hope I can pull it off. I already started kind of thinking about it before, started live streaming it. I can widen this, right? The easiest way to do that is going to be taking this apart, obviously. Tracing pieces, meaning like this wheel and each shaft that corresponds to it to get to this wheel in between, the one for each leg. And I need to divide this action into two. And I may need to have it run off of a center wheel. So this wheel is going to stay here. This whole thing is going to stay in place. The only difference is I'm going to move all of this action in between these two gears onto two more sets of gears in addition. So these three legs and these three legs are going to be on their own set of these on either set of the toy. And that is the most efficient way I could think of widening this thing to the appropriate width that I want and not look too stupid. But we'll see. That may be a little ambitious. I know I'm going to lose the training wheels. I don't have to worry about it going backwards or forwards all that much. It really just kind of goes on zigzags, never goes forward and back. So, but I can finally start taking it apart. Let's start with these ones on the outside are most likely for just the casing. So let's start there. A little bit of magnetization left on this screwdriver from something. Keep taking screws out until it just comes apart, I guess. Oh, while we're finally addressing this thing, I don't have any footage of it running that I've taken personally, but if you've seen some of the socials, I took clips from Grump's 10-minute power hour, which is where I saw this thing the first time and got the idea, obviously. But if you noticed, it has sensors on either side, collision sensors, which is great. That's fun. Never seen those in like a kid's toy before. And there's also little lights and there's little eyeballs. And roll with me on this. The Facehugger has 8 appendages. This guy only has 6 main ones, but the Facehugger has the 2 in the front that kind of face forward a little bit when it's going at something. So I kind of had the thought of replacing the eyeballs with some kind of tiny motor, maybe, and keeping they flicker, so keeping it on the flicker, not removing the part of the circuit that allows it to flicker like that. Oh wow, is the axle just chilling like that? Hold on. Yeah, wow, the axle to this thing is really just chilling. Talk about simple design. Okay, really simple motor, simple wiring. Okay, cool. I'm gonna be messing with like a gear system. I'm gonna have to customize like a gear system to make this work, to attach to this this motor. Okay, wow, that's cool. Rechargeable battery, sound. A lot less of this is, so far none of it really has been snapped together. Everything's been held together with some size Phillips head. That's You don't see that too often. This toy wasn't all that expensive either. I'm surprised. Off camera, I'm going to tear down everything I don't need. All this plastic is going to get trimmed off. I don't know how much of that I'm going to do on stream because a lot of it is just me getting angry at plastic and a jeweler's saw. So you don't need to see that. How are these kept in? It's like I was saying the other day, it's all about simplicity, man. It's all about simplicity. H.R. Geiger, Frankenstein. And Pokemon. That's a horrifying combination, but I would watch it. If I ever have any plans of letting this loose on a convention floor, not bumping into stuff, i.e. people, will definitely add to this thing's lifespan. They did a surprisingly good job. Wow. Kind of creepy. There's going to be a couple times where I just let this thing run like this. It's like something out of the first Toy Story movie. I'm just going to put like the T-Rex skull on it and let it... I do kind of need this to not be attached to the motor anymore so that I can really mess with it. It's either that or I start removing all of this stuff first. Are there 2 impact sensors on each side? What are these? It must... If I could figure out a way to... If anyone knows of a way to rewrite or recode the music that's programmed onto these little modules, that would be awesome. Since there's already the majority of the programming that runs this thing is already in the tiny little board, so I really don't need to change or redo much, which was why, like, when this popped into my head as a concept, as ridiculous as it is, I'm doing it because it's totally possible, because of how much work is already done. Did I already forget how this went together? Sure did. I also can't move these wires around like this that much because the connections are so fragile and dinky. Too much play and they're just gonna snap on me. This does need to come apart because I do need to trace these pieces. So I was gonna try and avoid taking the motor box apart. Oh, that really is a fun little simple gearbox. I'm glad. What? Oh yeah, of course it's not on a central axle, duh. Why would it be? Oh no. How? Okay, I see, said the blind man to the deaf mute. They got everything held together by Philip's head on this thing. Well, that's one way to forget how everything goes together. So, like I was saying earlier, these 2 outsides, they're not gears, they're wheels, but these 2 wheels attached to this little gearbox, as they turn, kind of simulate moving the legs individually, right? So it goes that way, it goes that way. What I need to do is introduce a third action or divide this one up. Okay, so the easiest way I could think of determining that on paper, since I don't know how to use CAD or any kind of 3D imaging software, I need to at least... This piece right here represents the space I have in between each parallel pair of legs, right? So I need to extend this wheel and extend this piece to be the same width as where these are going to meet, right? So I'm going to have to do the same thing that they did to this toy. I'm going to make a static facehugger leg to replace this one, right? So I'm just scaling it up in size. It's probably going to attach the same exact way. I'm going to have some kind of, I don't know. And they're also not going to pull in as much. They're going to stay relatively on the outside. And this is not going to have as wide a rotation. It's going to have a closer rotation. So it doesn't go as in and out. So like the reason the legs go so far in and out is because of how far out from the center this peg is. But if I make the wheels smaller and I also make the peg closer to the center, it's not going to move. Let me try and simulate it as best I can. It's not going to move around as much, right? So the actual movement of the legs is completely mock. It has nothing to do with the momentum or the movement of the toy. It's all these wheels. I thought about remedying that and making it so that the toy actually does move with its legs, but I just don't think it's practical for this prop / animatronic. That would just be too much. So I'm going to stick with the wheels, but I can disguise all of that stuff better. Now that mold making is part of my skill list, besides the 1, 2, 3 blocks, one of the best gifts I ever got, circle stencils. Just making some reference marks for the width of this piece so I can get this as close as I can to where it actually is. That's going to move. This piece is usually facing the interior, and there's going to be a leg here, and there's going to be another piece right there-ish. No, not like that. I can't just extend the legs because of where they all meet. The whole thing needs to be widened without being enlarged. I mean, the wheels need to be widened without being enlarged. Easiest way to do that is just to incorporate another wheel, but that's if they were working on kind of like a gear system, like I thought. They've got the whole thing held together by pegs, soft plastic and pegs. Horseshoe crabby. Just loose, dangly, soft plastic. Also, babies probably gonna throw it at each other, so don't want to give anyone a concussion. How wide, though, do we need to make it? So the motion of these legs pulls the legs inward and outward away from the center of the body. I kind of need to not do that anymore, because I can't have a piece of material here covered with a piece of skin attached to the piece of material here and have this piece go in and out, and I don't have the rubber to do that. So I'm going to have to reduce the back and forth motion, but that's going to reduce it's not going to look as cool, is it? Unless I figure out a way for them to go more up and down than side to side. Right? So this gear is pulling it in and out. And if I can add an action to this and then also change the accent to just moving the leg up and down, that would be cool. let's pretend this is the finished facehugger leg. Instead of this leg being pulled in and out or even up and down, what if I got it to do one of those? Sorry, excuse me. So it stays with the action it was built with. But instead of in and out, it goes up and down. And that's if I have this on this stays stationary. So does this wheel, just a gear on here. So pretend this is a lot smaller. This is going to be the leg. The leg is a lot bigger. This will be like the whole thing. There's going to be a small peg on the new wheel that the legs are going to be attached to. And it's only going to be enough for the leg to go like this. Maybe. So I also want it to rise and fall a little bit. How do I do that? How do I stay within my limitations and still get it done? Smaller wheels. Huh? Right? I swear not all of my stuff is cheap stuff. It is. I'm poor. Leave me alone. I need to kind of plot just a little bit as to where these are oriented. So based on the angle of that knuckle, this one's going to come down to there, but that can also be like adjusted. So I only need to worry about the 6. The other 2 I'll deal with. I'm not going to incorporate that into this mechanism. They knew what they were doing. Whoever designed this, I'll give you credit where credit's due. See a little line there? That's how the next one's supposed to line up. They made putting this back together idiot-proof, and I still have trouble with it. But it's a very cool toy, very cool design, very smart, very clever. Very, very clever. And this one just goes on and sandwiches. That's fun. Okay, so let's see. Do I need to make it a little wider? I might. Or maybe I can get away with it. I'm not sure. Well, I mean, actually, they did the same thing that I'm gonna need to do. The center legs are completely parallel, and then the outside sets of legs kind of go outward a little bit to make it look like the legs are going one way or the other. So I can do the same thing. My front legs and back legs are just going to be statically positioned slightly forward, but they'll still, walk up and down. And then the center ones are going to be a little more straight or a little less curved forward. And then the front 2 are going to be exaggerated curved forward. And then I got the other 2 on top that are going to be doing this. That's the idea anyway. So not only does this need to be widened, it needs to be slightly lengthened. And it's not technically a maximum I need to meet with the motor box itself. It's just a minimum I need to meet with how far I make the piece that the leg is going to extend off of. I was able to at least take the thing apart, which was the biggest thing, to at least get the ball rolling on that. I am going to have to brainstorm off camera though, which is, hey man, I said 99% of the build is going to be live. The more exciting active 99%. The 1% is the stuff that I'm trying to not be showcased, but I guess that's unavoidable. I'm just going to need to brainstorm this a little bit. I displayed that this is possible. It's just going to take some steps, and 4 weeks, no pressure, Halloween, to do it. To not only get all of this stuff squared away, but then also to appropriately fabricate it. which is why I'm making the other one at the same time, because the other one's going to go a lot faster. As soon as I nail down the proportions and the outline that I want, um, jumping right into cutting PVC and getting started on the skeletal structure of it. Can I make the fingies out of PVC and just put clay and crap on top of the pipe? That would be awesome. Because then maybe I might actually be able to, because the body joints are going to be the ball and socket flexi hose, ball and socket, flexa hose, flexa pipe, whatever the hell it's called. But I didn't really come up with an idea for the joints, the two other segments. Or is there three? Is it actually just like ours? 1, 2, 3 knuckles. 3 knuckles. Just so it is. Wow. Ew. Disgusting. I just need to nail down how far I'm extending. I would love to just like completely reduce this in size, and yeah, in the meantime I'll try and strip some plastic off the body and put that back together so I can just have a better idea what I'm working with. The front leg and the back leg can move at the same time. That doesn't matter. It's just two legs that are next to each other can't move at the same time because the illusion's gone. It just looks too weird. Yeah. All right. It's going to take some brainstorming, and I'm going to have to ponder and rack my brain about this a little bit. Next time we're going to be pouring the second part of the 2-part mold. So more silicone. By then, hopefully I'll have more of an outline nailed down. This is the first time I'm really looking at it taken apart and what the components actually look like and how they relate to each other. So I do want to thank you for hanging out. I'll keep you posted. If you're tuning in after, this is from my live stream, unscheduled, soon to be scheduled.